right. Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Marissa Gray. I am the Master's Program Director in Biomedical Engineering at Brown University. And I'm really excited to present an information session for you today. But I do want to say that this session can be fairly informal. So if you would like to navigate to the Zoom toolbar and see the Q&A button. You might have to go into more to see the Q&A. That will be where you can answer questions or ask questions and we'll answer them as quick as possible, either by typing or by answering live. So feel free to do that. Again, that's the Q&A. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining me. I know it's a very busy time of the year, so thank you for taking the time to do that. I also want to mention that all of the pictures I have here in this presentation are pictures from our lab and of our students. Most of them are current students. There's a few that might be recently graduated, but on this top picture, actually, Kruti is a current master's student. The top picture person to the left. So again, we have very current pictures here in the presentation. All right. All right, so first I wanted to introduce you to our institute. So we are part of the Brown Institute for Biology, Engineering, and Medicine. And basically what that means is that our biomedical engineering program, both at the PhD level and the master's level, are not a department, but we're part of a larger organization that spans both the biology programs in the medical school and also the School of Engineering. And we have a lot of different values. So we have tradition. Brown University has a very rich tradition in the School of Engineering and the Division of Biology and Medicine, distinction, collaboration, and innovation. So I'm going to start with tradition and by telling you a little bit about the different entities that we are a part of. So I'm going to start with the School of Engineering. So to the left on my slide, we are actually the oldest engineering in the Ivy League, which is a little surprising because when people think of Brown University, they don't immediately think of engineering. But it was established in 1847. You can see from this picture here, we have a nice complex, engineering complex. So there's actually three buildings shown here. It kind of looks all like one. And the one that you can see most at the front, that's the Engineering Research Center. Directly behind it and connected is a building called Barris and Hawley. And you can see a little bit to the left, that is Prince Labs, which is actually undergoing a major renovation and will be a totally new design and innovation hub. So that's where our maker space is. And I actually just saw the plans for it earlier this week, and it's very, very cool. Lots of equipment, lots of classrooms, lots of collaborative spaces in that. So that should be done within a couple of years. So keep that in mind. And then on the right hand side of my slide, we have the Division of Biology and Medicine, which includes our on-campus biology programs, but it also includes the Warren Alpert School of Medicine and the different hospitals and clinics around the Providence area associated with the medical school. So we have this really great clinical component that I think is essential for BME students to be exposed to. All right, so what sets us apart? There are a lot of really great master's programs out there. I do definitely know that, but what kind of sets us apart is a couple of things. So first, for being we're a medium-sized institution, but we have a relatively small engineering program, but we are mighty. So we end up doing very well on these different scholarly research indexes when we're competing against schools, state schools that have, um, four, five, six times our population, which is really really great. We also have a high percentage of master's degrees awarded to women. I think in the master's program, we are currently 50% women, which is wonderful. And we also have because we are a fairly small program, we have a really great scale when it comes to faculty and students. So it's a very personalized atmosphere, I think. And again, for those that might not be familiar, we are located in Providence, Rhode Island, which is the smallest state in the United States. It's nicely nestled between Boston to the north, which is about 50 miles or an hour train ride away, and then New York City to the south, which is about 180 miles away, or about a 3 hour train ride. So, very close to a lot of different things, which I'll actually talk about in a bit. What really sets us apart, though, I have a whole slide on this, is that we have something at Brown at all levels called open curriculum, which is really your ability to design your own master's program. So we want you to take courses that you want to take. So we don't really have a lockstep schedule or requirements of courses. We definitely have recommendations of courses if you want to specialize in certain areas, but I really think that the value of a master's degree is a lot of different things, but it really comes down to you want to specialize in an area or various areas. And so you're definitely able to do that with this flexible curriculum. So we have general requirements, which I'll go over, but we usually don't have specific course requirements unless you're in the design track, which again, I'll talk about in a bit. We have lots and lots of courses, lots of engineering courses, biology courses, and you're open to take courses from many other disciplines as well. We have graduate only courses. A lot of our courses tend to be small, especially at the graduate level. As the courses get more specific, they tend to be smaller. We do have some larger courses as well, but I think that probably the largest class you might see is 50 to 60 students. I mean, you're not going to see an intro level hundreds of students course at the master's level, which is great. Again, just to touch a little bit on Providence, Rhode Island, in case you're not familiar, we have a lot of water around. We have beaches very close by, within minutes, really. And then you have mountains to the north. I talked about the different cities around. Providence is a small city, but it has this really kind of original, like unique kind of culture. A lot of art, a lot of different types of festivals and things like that. So lots to do around Providence, and the food is very good. I was talking to my students about their favorite places the other day, and there's many I haven't tried, and I've been at Brown for about 7 years now, so I got to get on that. And here's just another slide just that talks a little bit more about Providence and the different things that are available in the area. I'm not originally from Providence or Rhode Island, so I feel like I really like the atmosphere. All right, so do you want to talk about our different faculty? We have many different faculty that span so many different areas of BME, which is why our program is so flexible because we recognize biomedical engineering is very broad. You have people that work on devices, you have people that work on orthopedic mechanics, you have people that work on tissue engineering, neuroengineering, and everything in between, immunoengineering. And so our faculty really show our diversity. We're unique in that we have our BME faculty is composed of faculty from engineering, also the biology programs, and also clinical departments, so the medical school departments, so like the Department of Orthopedics and the Department of Neurosurgery. And so I think that that's really unique. And we're usually growing our um, core faculty. So we have a new neuroengineering faculty starting next year. And then we also are continuously adding more faculty to kind of our core unit. So this group is always growing. Now, I did say we have very diverse research interests, but if I had to bucket the interests into different groups, these are the five buckets I would put them in. Neuroengineering and neurotechnology is kind of our claim to fame. It's not definitely not our biggest group, but it's the one where I think we get the most recognition in terms of especially the brain computer interface realm. So we have several professors, but one in particular, Lee Hochberg, that really led this Brain Gate project, which is a multi-institutional project about deep brain stimulation to help people that um, have limited abilities. And so the technology, even though in the last 5 to 10 years, has really erupted and it's also gotten a lot smaller, which is really great. So our neuroengineering and neurotechnology group is really great. We do other things other than deep brain stimulation there. There's different types of imaging. There's yeah, a lot of different types of imaging, a lot of different types of sensor and sensor array research and things like that. So for biosensors and bioplatforms, this can mean anything like optical sensors. We have somebody working on optical sensors and microfluidic sensors, but also like molecular sensors as well. And then mechanobiology and biomechanics includes our soft tissue biomechanics, but also our orthopedic biomechanics. We have tissue regeneration and engineering, which is probably one of our biggest groups. Um, Lots of different applications from cancer to engineering different vessels to engineering different materials, which kind of blends into our fifth group, which is integrative biomaterials, or what I like to call smart biomaterials. So we have a lot of people doing a lot of different things with health related biomaterials. This is just another slide that just kind of shows you a bit more some of the researchers and where they fall kind of on this scale of a nano scale, which we have a lot of faculty that do nano medicine and work with nanoparticles, and then all the way up through the macro scale. So for people doing, again, the deep brain simulation, which you can see a picture is at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. And right above that is orthopedic biomechanics professor Trey Crisco that does a lot of different orthopedic projects. He does do a lot with the wrist and different surgeries and treatments around that, but he also does concussion research and sports data analysis. It's very cool. Both of those fields, neuroengineering and orthopedic biomechanics, are very cool. All right, I have been talking for a while, so I'm going to just see if there are any questions thus far. I've promised, looking ahead, I promised to get more into program information, financial information, and different program elements we have. So that is coming ahead, I promise, but just wanted to give you a little bit more information about our program and our environment here at Brown first. I'll pause, but then I'll also go to the next slide and talk slowly in case anybody has questions. Um, I talked about a lot of different collaborations and different clinics or different departments we tend to work with. So I really wanted to highlight this in this slide. We have Rhode Island Hospital is a short shuttle ride away, or you can actually walk there as well. It'll probably be like a 20-25 minute walk. But Rhode Island Hospital is one of the biggest hospitals in the area. A lot of master students end up doing work with physicians from the hospital if they don't do research with or any other project work with professors on campus. Again, we have the medical school. We interface very well with the computer science department, the biomedical center, which includes our biology programs. We're also, many of our faculty have appointments at our Providence Veterans Affairs Hospital and a Butler Hospital as well, just to name a few. There's lots of other clinics that we're involved in as well. And I think the collaborative nature, I can't think of a professor who doesn't have at least some projects working with clinicians or even companies. And each other. So we're a very collaborative group indeed. All right. I did see a question. Yes, so this is a really good question about gene therapy, editing and research. So a lot of our gene therapy tends to be a bit more on our biology side, but as a master's student, like you can certainly, like there's definitely, yes, lots of that at Brown. The core BME group, I think that there's some people that are doing that a little bit on the periphery. A lot of like immunoengineering, a lot of RNA analysis and things like that, microfluidics technology. But master students, it's very common for them to work with somebody that might not be a core BME, might be a physician, might be somebody in some of our biology departments. So we have I think seven different biology departments. And so I've had many master students work with folks on a master's thesis with gene therapy and editing before. So I hope that answers your question. All right. Okay, so I'm going to delve a bit more into our program specific information. Um, so basically, What what types of students should be applying to our program? So we typically look for students with backgrounds in engineering, physics, applied math, or computer science. If you do have a life sciences background, we do look for specific prerequisites, specifically math requirements and also some physics requirements. If you have any doubt whether your academic background qualifies you for the BME program, please email me directly. Let me know, and I can take a look at if you have an unofficial transcript, if you have a list of courses you've taken. I'd be happy to look at that for you. We have some really great alternative master's programs at Brown too. So if I think you might be a better fit for another one of those programs, I might steer you in that direction. Um, we also, so again, because this is probably one of the biggest strengths of our program, you can customize your program based on your interests and career goals. We do have this open curriculum concept, and you are able, if you would like to do research, you don't have to. I'll talk about that in a minute, but if you want to do research, you can choose between on-campus faculty, hospital-based faculty. It's a really again, flexible environment. Okay, so drilling down to our master's program, we have about 60 current students. Most of them are full-time, but we do have part-time students as well. Students that might be working full-time and going to class part-time. Uh, so there's lots of options for that. We have two different programs. So we have the Masters of Science program, which is thesis based. And we have two tracks in that program, the research track and the design track. Again, this degree is really about an independent research project or an independent design project. It's usually 4 semesters, so 2 years, and really focusing in on that project. So it's a little bit more of a traditional master's degree. And then we have the Master's of Engineering, which is not a non-thesis and very coursework based. So if you're very industry focused, maybe you are a part-time student and working full-time, the Master's of Engineering would be really great for you. Um, what I will say is that we have a co-op option in which you are able to work at a company outside of Brown for 6 months. This is for international and domestic students. It's available in all of the programs and tracks. It's definitely easier to fit in to the Masters of Engineering because you don't have that big project. But if you kind of know that you want to do a co-op early, you can work that into your Masters of Science program as well. But I really emphasize the knowing early if you want to do that to try to fit that in and work with your research or design advisor on that. All right. So I have Victoria here on the call as well. And so I might ask her maybe to talk a little bit about the application process. But we do have the deadline. So I think most of you on this call are looking for a fall 2026 start. So that deadline will be April 15th. So it is later than I think a lot of other programs. What I will say is we typically have rolling admissions. So if you submit your application, we will try to get a decision to you within a couple of weeks. So we try to turn over the decisions pretty quickly. So you don't have to wait till April 15th. You can apply now. I actually encourage most students, if you're in an undergraduate program, to do so over the winter break, or if you have a winter break, it's a good time to do that. I will say that we have a priority deadline of February 1st. So that I think is a good target to target is our February 1st deadline, because then you get your decisions back and you can make an informed decision about your program and your next steps.
Marissa,
Uh,
I just dropped a link in the chat if folks want to take a look at like the application requirements and things like that. You can check out the chat and it'll lead to the program finder page.
awesome. Yes. So I'm gonna see if I I'm gonna stay here, and basically, Victoria, do you want to just run through very quickly? Sorry to make you turn your camera back on. Do you want to run through very quickly what's required in the application? Just like the highlights. I know you had just put the link in that can give you more information.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll walk everybody through the application process. So my name is Victoria Bray. I'm the Associate Director of Recruitment, and I help all of the folks at the School of Engineering master's programs through the application process. So consider me a resource as you're applying to Brown. So first, we're not going to require you to submit the GRE. That's not required for our School of Engineering master's programs. You are welcome to submit it if you want to, but you certainly don't have to take the test just for our program because it's not required. A little bit about your transcripts. We're going to want to see your unofficial transcripts from anywhere that you've attended after secondary school. So if you have multiple bachelor's degrees, you transferred schools, you already have a master's degree in a different area, make sure that you're sharing all of those transcripts with us so we can get the full picture of your academic history when you're applying. We're only going to require you to submit unofficial transcripts as a part of the application. However, if you do end up at being admitted and enrolling at Brown, then we'll require you to follow up with official transcripts. And if you attended an institution outside of the United States, eventually we'll have you submit a credential evaluation. But again, for the purposes of your application, just get that unofficial transcript in so that you can submit by the deadline. We're going to have you submit 3 letters of recommendation for anybody applying outside of Brown. We require all 3 letters of recommendation in order for us to be able to consider your application. So keep that in mind as well. A common question that I get is, I have 2 great letters of recommendation. Will that suffice? Or my application is incomplete. Can you still give me a decision? We can only render decisions on complete applications, and we can only review complete applications. We'll have you submit a personal statement, which will outline your interest in the program, your interest in Brown, your goals, talk about your history as it pertains to the master's program. It's a really great opportunity for you to really talk to the admission committee, keeping in mind that the committee is made up of Brown faculty. So folks like Marissa are reading your application. So really know your audience when you're writing that statement of purpose or that personal statement. And then also when you're requesting letters of recommendation, you should be requesting letters of recommendation from folks who can speak to you really specifically about your success in a master's program, about your success in a STEM field. A common question that we get about letters of recommendation are, can I submit letters from somebody who's I've worked with, a colleague, a supervisor? And the answer is yes, certainly. You could submit letters from folks who've taught you in the classroom. I think a mix of those letters works really well for the admission committee, but always come back to like, what is this person going to be able to say about my success in a biomedical engineering program? If it's a volunteer opportunity, think about like, how does that volunteer opportunity really intersect with your interest in biomedical engineering and your academic success in biomedical engineering? And that should be how you sort of approach those letters of recommendation. If you're thinking about applying by February 1st, or yeah, by February 1st, that's great. You have up until 2 weeks after that deadline in order to complete your application. So if you're waiting for a letter of recommendation or to submit an additional material, you have up until 2 weeks after February 1st to be able to finalize your application, but you'll need to submit that application by February 1. So it's a submission deadline, not necessarily a completion deadline. Um, that being said, if you end up not submitting by February 1st or not completing by 2 weeks later, then we'll sort of shift your application to the regular pool. And like Marissa said, we'll start to roll those decisions out as you complete your application. We really recommend applying by the priority deadline. This is a residential program, right? So you're going to have to relocate to Providence potentially, depending on where you're coming from in the world. That might mean having to go through a visa process. That might mean having to find housing, right? So the sooner that you're taking the step of t applying, getting admitted and enrolling at Brown, the sooner that we can get those other things rolling for you to be able to start your visa process and start looking for housing. Brown does offer housing, a limited amount of housing that's on a first come first basis to master's students. That's like I said, first come first serve. So the sooner you're admitted, the sooner you can get on that housing wait list when it opens. So that's what I have. Uh, Marissa, anything you want to cover about the what I've said or
Yeah, no, I thought that was extremely thorough. That was better than what I could do. So that was great. Thank you. I did have a question I see in the chat. It's a very good question that I want to answer. And the question is, how much of hands-on research is integrated within the non-thesis courses? Other than joining labs outside of classes, are there courses which focus on more applied engineering techniques? I'm interested in design and hands-on experiences, but confused about the thesis, non-thesis, which is a really great question. So I will say that our courses are so first of all, there's the same courses for the non-thesis degree that there is for the research degree. You're really not limited to different courses, although I will say, some folks that are more design focused or industry focused might choose other classes than those that are research focused. But um, the courses are available to everybody. And basically, how much of the hands-on research is integrated with non-thesis? So basically we have a mix of courses. So some courses will be hands-on, like we have a course called Stem Cell Engineering, taught by Dr. Eric Darling. That is a very like lab-based course. And we have also other engineering courses that again are very like lab-based courses. But then we'll have courses like nanoengineering and nanomedicine that are more of like a lecture style. Not that there's not like in-class activities and there's lots of really great speakers in that course and things like that, but it's not going to be in the lab. So we have a good mix of courses like that, both design-based courses and courses in other topics as well. I will say that if you're unsure of whether to pick kind of the Masters of Engineering or Masters of Science, we are very flexible in when you arrive, or like you're going through the process and maybe you applied for the Master's of Engineering, but then you really got thinking and you want to do more of a hands-on research experience outside the classroom, you can switch the different programs. So you can, or vice, I said Master's of Engineering to Master's of Science, but vice versa as well. So we are typically really open to that. So that would be something to this person that answered this question. If you want to talk to me further and more specifically about that, so you can kind of really dig in into your career goals, that would be really great. Also, I can have you talk to a current student as well, which might be very helpful. So thank you for that question. All right. Just to wrap up kind of the application part of this presentation, um, if you are interested in applying, which I really hope you are, we can pay for your application. Um, you don't have to do anything for that just by like signing in and signing up for this webinar today. We have your information. We will apply a fee waiver directly to your application. So. Yeah, so please apply if you would like. This is just this picture here is just one of the many art installations on Brown's campus. So I like for people to see other areas of campus other than engineering and biology as well. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about the program options. So basically, I'm going to just kind of skip the beginning part of this slide and go to the individual programs. So I'm going to talk about the Masters of Science programs first. And I'm going to start with the research track. So again, this is a thesis-based program. The research track is probably our most popular option. We have some fantastic research and some really great research advisors. And so if you're interested in a more traditional master's program, again, the thesis-based research, hands-on, collaborative is really fantastic. What the requirements are is you have 8 courses in general, so for a master. So for any of the programs, you have to take 8 courses. And usually this translates for the Masters of Science in 2 courses per semester, which sounds very light, but keep in mind that you're also spending a lot of time on this research or design project as well. So 5 of those 8 courses have to be structured courses. 2 of them have to be in engineering topics, and 2 of them have to be in biology topics. Though my definitions of engineering and biology are very broad, so this could include engineering courses, physics courses, computer science, data science, trying to think of applied math. I'm trying to think of anything else I tend to count towards engineering. And on the flip side, for biology, any of the life sciences, neuroscience, social science courses, public health courses, I all count towards biology. Now, those 3 remaining courses can be structured classes in any of the disciplines I had mentioned, or maybe some other disciplines as well. Economics, I've had people take before. There's lots of really great courses at Brown. Um, but you can take up to 3 independent research credits. You can take 0 if you want. You to really focus on their research, particularly at the end of their program. All right. So that's the Masters of Science in Research. The Masters of Science in Design is actually very similar. This is the only program and track, though, where we do have a required course, although I may be changing that for this next year to make a different required course. Basically, what we have the required courses do is help form your project. And if you have a project team, form your project team. So our projects can be team-based or individual, really. But what's common with them is that they are clinically driven. So you usually have a clinical advisor as well. And again, the same kind of course requirements go for the Masters of Science design track. So 5 structured courses, and you can take up to 3 independent research courses. Um, and again, um, typically we have you take 2 design-based required courses, but that's only 2 required courses, and they're usually in the engineering discipline. All right, so for the Masters of Engineering, definitely the most flexible. This is the one that can be done. Probably. So it definitely can be done in 2 semesters, so in a year. Most people tend to maybe stretch it out a little bit more into 3 semesters or 4 semesters. But it's basically you're taking 8 courses, structured courses. So there's no of those independent research credits. There's part-time options. It works really well with a co-op. Uh, yeah, so that's pretty much it in a nutshell is the Masters of Engineering program. All right. Ah, yes. Before I get to the financial options slide, I did see that there was some questions. All right. Yes, so for the person who might have more of a clinical background, or like a pre-med background, than a traditional engineering pathway, please email me your unofficial transcript or list of courses, and I will be happy to take a look and review and recommend, yes, you should apply for BME, or you might want to look at one of our sister programs in biotechnology, which has many of the same faculty overlap, but the course requirements are a bit different. And we also have some other really cool programs, like a health informatics program, as well. So definitely send me your unofficial transcript, and I'll take a look. Okay. So for financial options, so I definitely recognize that a master's degree, really in any institution, also at Brown, is a financial investment. Um, so most master's programs in the United States are self-funded, but we do have financial options. So we have merit-based or need-based scholarships that cover. So actually, it used to cover 1 course. It actually covers 2 courses this year, which is great. So we have those merit-based scholarships for the merit-based and need-based scholarships. So what I mean by need-based is that you can fill out a FAFSA form if you're a domestic student, or Victoria, I'm not sure what the other form for international students is called, if you happen to know.
CSS profile.
The SS profile. Yes, you can fill out that. So regardless if you're a domestic or a international student, you can fill out like a financial need form essentially. And so you can do that. We also have different on-campus positions like supplemental TA-ships or research assistantships. There are lots of outside scholarships on our website. We have lots of on and off-campus job opportunities. So off-campus would be more for domestic students, but we have lots of on-campus job opportunities for both domestic and international students. Kruti, who is actually on the front page of the presentation, I pointed her out at the very beginning. She's actually one of our I-Beam assistants. So there's many jobs that students can do on campus. Um, we also have something, I didn't mention this yet, but I'm really excited about this program. We just finished our first year. It's called the Academic Subtrack. So if you're interested in research and you might be interested in applying to a PhD program, we have something called an academic subtrack, or a pathway, academic pathway, where you can basically, it's a 6 workshop series about, if you even, what is a PhD program? Do you really want to, like, can PhDs do? Do you really want to apply? And it walks you through the application process and those sorts of things. But with that, you're eligible to receive a summer research stipend up to $5,000 so you can really focus on your research, usually the summer between your first and second year. So that's an opportunity for funding. And then, of course, we have the co-op program, which I'll talk about a little bit more in the next slide. But many of my students, you get to receive all of the salary that you make from that. Again, it's a 6-month full-time position. And many of my students make around $35,000 to $40,000 for the 6-month position with the co-op program. So that's a really great if getting industry experience and bonus. You get to help fund your your education. Let me know if there's any questions about that. I do want to say just a note to the supplemental teaching assistantships and research assistantships that so some of you might think of research assistantships and TAships being, it has like a stipend and like it covers tuition. That is usually not just at Brown, but elsewhere. That's usually for PhD students. This is why we call them supplemental TAships. They're less hours, but you do definitely get $2,500 per semester for a TA-ship, or could be up to $5,000 for a research assistantship if your research advisor has funding for you. So just something to think about. Yes, so all these financial opportunities are available to both domestic and international students. I think the only one again, the off-campus job opportunities are mostly for domestic students because for visa requirements, unless you're doing a co-op, which you have to apply for a separate visa process for that. But really, off-campus jobs would be for domestic students, but anything else in that list is for both domestic and international students. All right. Moving along. So yes, I did want to put this slide together about the co-op program or experiential learning program. And yes, I do need to update my salaries. So the salary ranges are usually around $30,000 to $40,000 from a lot of different companies. So we actually give you a lot of resources and a lot of connections to get a co-op, but then we also encourage you to apply on your own as well to maximize your chances. We have companies like Pfizer that have dedicated co-ops for our master's students, or for our Brown master students, I should say. But we have all of these companies listed here we have relationships with. But also to say, like, you can go, I have a student who's doing a co-op in Ohio right now. They were able to pay her living expenses there. And not one of these companies, but she found them on her own, which was really great. Many of our students who are doing research publish. I keep track of this every year, and I think for last year, of the 30-ish students that we graduated, I think 8 or 9 published, which is really great. So strong possibility if you're doing the research track. And again, where do students tend to go? Probably about 2/3 of our students go into industry. There's a lot of research and development positions, but a lot of other types of positions, marketing, quality, regulatory, human factors engineering is one I've been seeing a lot more of. So there's consulting companies as well. So there's lots of different jobs out there. We also have some students that go into government research or government contracting companies, and about 20 to 25%, kind of depending upon the year, goes on to PhD programs. And these are just a few of the companies that our students have gone to. This is not all encompassing. We've had a sports run for a couple years. So what I mean by that is we've had students hired at New Balance. We've had students hired by Oklahoma City Thunder, which is super cool. These are people kind of doing data analysis for sports teams. That's a basketball, professional basketball team in the United States. And so I didn't put those on here, but these are some of the more common companies. But there's definitely some other ones, some really neat ones too. So keep that in mind. And for those that go into PhD programs, here's a few where we have currently have students at these PhD programs. Brown is a nice pathway. You do have to apply like everybody else to the Brown PhD program, but we do have master students each year go on to the PhD program at Brown, but also to many, as you see here, like many really great programs, Harvard, Penn, Yale, so lots of really great ones. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about is a lot of people ask me about specific courses, or where they can find specific courses. And the answer to that is we have if you just throw this in Google, courses at Brown, that's where our course catalog lives. But I don't usually have students filter by program or by level because I don't want to limit you, but we have a lot of courses, which can be overwhelming. What I highly recommend is if you're thinking about courses, you talk to me. We also have an assistant director, Dr. Chien, who you can talk to her about course recommendations as well. But as you just see here, like these are all of the, not all, these are some of the biology courses that we offer in the fall and the spring in biology. And you can see that there's some that are pretty standard courses, so like advanced biochemistry, but then there are others that are a little bit more business-like, so like biotech and IP, and then there's other ones that are more artificial intelligence related and things like that. And kind of the same goes with engineering as well. So you have some more BME minded courses, but then you also have courses that are covering maybe a broad swath of engineering disciplines, um, and things like that. So there's lots of different courses out there. All right, so I will take some time to answer some questions, but I will leave you with some of our highlights that we talked about today. So we have really strong and personalized mentorship here with research advisors, design advisors, course instructors, program directors. I love having relationships with my students and seeing where they go and keeping in touch with them. So that's a really great perk of our program. We do have very flexible courses and course requirements. Our environment is exceedingly collaborative. You can have exposure to industry experience, and in general, I think we have very happy students, and we will be happy to connect you with those happy students if you want kind of some insider information from them. Yeah, so we would be hosting one-on-one conversations probably starting in January. So taking the break, we have a winter break coming up actually next week. I'm starting at the end of next week. So we'll probably be starting them up in January. So we do have those coming up. If you have any questions for me, or if you want to send me your unofficial transcript to kind of take a look at, this is my email. I did see that I think that there is a question here.
Yeah, it's sort of
Um,
harkening back to the conversation about like the difference between financial options for international students. So I thought we'd leave this one because there might be some other folks on the call who are interested in
yeah,
co-op.
so this question, so will doing a co-op is CPT affect post-graduation OPT? That's a really great question, and the answer is no. So it's two different processes. So the CPT, so what a lot of my students do is they'll apply to CPT during their co-op, and then I think it's usually a few months before you graduate, you apply for OPT. Yes, so will it won't affect it at all. What I will say for international students is depending upon your home country and also depending upon if you if your undergraduate institution was in the United States or if it was abroad, you might have to wait 2 semesters in order to do a co-op. So it's kind of individualized. So if people are thinking about doing a co-op, I usually have them reach out to the Office of International Student and Scholarly Services and ask them when they would be eligible. Most people, regardless of eligibility, tend to do it in their third semester anyways. So it really could be a moot point for many of you, but sometimes, again, depending upon the country, um, you would have to be in residence for 2 semesters. Now, if you're coming from an undergraduate program in the United States, but are still international students, that doesn't apply to you. So you could do a co-op in your second semester. But there's a lot more nuances that I could cover. Perhaps when you are admitted into the program, I can go through them a little bit more.
A question that somebody asked in advance of the session is, for folks who are in the area, are there any part-time course options for working professionals?
There certainly are. So, we are working on kind of building our course portfolio with that. So, we have some in general, engineering courses that are in the evening or online. But in BME in particular, we're offering this new online course next semester, actually, that pairs really well with people who are working full time. It's kind of an industry related course, but it kind of is also a survey of different, I believe it's biomedical. Um, Imaging modalities. So I think that there's a lot that you can do. I've had a lot of part-time students. Yeah, so you can take courses like in the evening. We have a lot of afternoon and evening courses, but are definitely increasing our portfolio of more accessible courses to students who are working full-time and are going to school part-time. So thank you for asking that question.
And then another one is, should folks be reaching out to faculty to secure a research position or for the application process before they apply?
Yeah, great question. I don't think it's necessary. If you're interested in somebody's research, you can certainly reach out to them, but I don't think it's necessary to do that during the application process. But if you're admitted, I think that that's the time to kind of start talking to research advisors and also throughout the summer as well. I always tell students to have like someone kind of lined up before the official semester starts. You don't necessarily have to do that, but that's always kind of a good idea to just explore your options a little bit more.
That's all I've got for questions.
Great, it's great. Um, I will stall a little bit to see if there's any other questions, but if not, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Remember that your application is free. So if you want to apply, please do so. Um, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And yeah, I think that that is about it. Thank you so much for joining. Again, I know that time is very precious these days, so thank you.
Thanks, Marissa. Bye, everyone.
Bye.